I'm going to talk about the utility funds, why I even own them. They're more of a defensive play, but I think the market's going to be shaky or going down. I might put some money in the utilities funds. It's a less volatile fund. Typically, a utility fund would get 10% return for a year, which would be a pretty good quarter. Um, so they do have better quarters, but generally speaking, 10% in utilities is a pretty good move. So at the end of the year, I had some shares, and I was going to sell it on 12/30 at 40.25. Backed out of it, but then the next day I did sell. It didn't go down a little bit, and I just wanted to lock in the gains at $40. I put the O1 on there for the brokerage fees, so it pays the fees. But you could have just done $40 even. Anyways, I just sold it at 40. It wasn't relative if I thought it was going to go up more or not. I took some of the profits out. And back on February 23rd, it was down at 30, so I made a purchase 25% down from my last buy. As you can see on this chart, if I had just waited one more day, I could have got it down to 28.58. We had a big tank in the market. You never know when these are coming. That's why I don't put everything I own in it, but I put some money in it. 28.58 wasn't enough to make me buy more. I was already in at 30. So I held on to my 30 and hoping to get maybe 20% by the end of the year. I got 20% by, oh, that's the wrong date. Today is the 3rd. So March 3rd, just 8 days later, it was already up 20%. So I just took profits because 20% for utility fund is a large gain. Its all-time high was 40. I could have held and maybe got to 40, but I thought I'd lock in my profits. I have shares. If it goes up more, I can sell more or hold. But 20% gain for a utility fund in 8 days is a huge gain. In fact, it's more than that if you consider the low was at 28. So the 28 to 36, you're significantly more than 20% gains, which is a big jump for a utility fund. If I show you this fund here, its average return for 3 years is 9%. So I doubled that in 8 days. If you look down here, it had a good year at 38%. And you look down here, it had a 40% drop and an 81% drop. These are huge moves. And the reason why these are such big moves is this is a 3 times shares options. It's going to triple down whatever the utilities does. So in all reality, a 20% gain is kind of like an 8% gain in the 7 to 8% gain in the utility fund. Here's a more accurate description of what would happen with utilities. This is the Fidelity Utility Fund. This is a highly rated fund at 4 stars. You can see the best and worst year is 30%. That is huge for utilities. You look down here, the 1 month, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. Not one is that 20%. And if you go down per year, you have very few gains of over 20%. So I'm looking at more like 23, 25% from the 28 drop that we did have, going from 28 to 36. You can see it rarely hits those. In fact, if you break it down even more by quarter, you really don't see, I don't actually see any gains in the last, since 1996, however many years that is, 22, 26 years. 26 years, 1 quarter at 23%, which is about what we just had happen. It never happened any other time. That's the absolute best quarter you've seen in utilities back in 98 at a 23% gain. There's a lot of talk of the utilities being heavily affected by what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. So when you look at this, you take into account it's a more conservative fund. to get a 20% gain in the short amount of time that I was invested in this for 8 days just seems logical for me to just take my profits out and sit in the money market and look for an opportunity to buy more of this if it drops to 30, or watch for something else to go on sale and buy that. So that's today's tip for my utilities funds. Why even bother to buy these? Because it doesn't seem like a great investment. It doesn't make much money. It doesn't have big swings of ups, but sometimes it's good to have some defensive money.